Welcome back to Behavioral Finance and FinTech. I'm Andy Kim, your Dr. Finance. Today, we're going to cover mood, sentiment, and stock price, which is about algorithmic trading. It has a lot to do with quantitative trading. And I just purchased this book, Machine Learning for Algorithmic Trading by Stefan Janssen. Okay, original book is about 700 pages long, but it has a lot of meats to digest if you are interested in algorithmic trading or quantitative trading, and such as satellite images, and then how can you trade based on those image processing, right? And then computational linguistics and text mining, and how would you classify those things, using naive Bayesians or topic modeling. All these kind of things are here, but at least we can get some, you could, by just reading it, right, you can just get some fundamental ideas there, and coding yourself, you can just translate it yourself if you're skillful enough, but the ideas are there. So I suggest you to read that one. Not for the final or midterm exam of this course, but for your own research purpose and your job market purpose, right? This would be helpful. Another book that I want to recommend to you is this guy, Business Data Science, Matt Taddy, Amazon chief data scientist, right? Using a lot of R codings for data science, so either R or Python. And another book that I'm going to talk about today a little bit is about this book, The Man Who Solved the Market, okay, the Renaissance technology guy, the hedge fund manager called Jim Simon, right? Harvard math professor or something like that. And then talking about the machine learning in finance, maybe some of you may like this book by Lopez de Prado, okay? That's something you could try. And this one, Empirical Asset Pricing by Bali, Engel, Murray, right? Is that Engel, Nobel laureate Engel? Yes. Empirical Asset Pricing, but it is the fundamental one for your understanding in quantitative finance, has a lot to do with behavioral finance as well. So you can do it for your own self-study in the future. Anyway, so let's move down to the class material today. Let's go. Okay, so today's portion, what is this about? It's going to be about sentiment and mood and this kind of things. Market psychology, right? Investor psychology. Though this is the terminology you face day by day, right? Those financial journalists like CNBC guys or Sampro TV in Korea, they often talk about 투자자 심리 or like investor psychology. And then, for example, last week, the FRB, Federal Reserve Chairman, said something about the inflation, and then what he mentioned incurred some investor psychology about the upcoming inflation and interest rate increase, so that affected the stock price to go down and things like that. But what they really mean about by investor psychology in those journalist terminology is like, actually it has to be investor economics, investor fundamentals, because that FRB chairman's wording is more about the risk part of your valuation. Remember, your value of your company or any asset has two channels, right? One is cash flow and the other is risk, right? Risk or discount rate, right? And your risk-free rate, FRBs, right? That is interest rate, that is your discount rate. It's about the risk, okay, of the economy. So it's about the economic fundamental. So the journalist should have said, based on the rational expectation or investors' expectation about this, macroeconomic risk-free rate, the price plunged down like X%. But that's not cool, just to your ears, right? Investor wants something more softer, like the terminology, the psychology. So it's kind of misleading. 개떡같이 말해요. And it's like you have to understand it in a correct way. It's really about the economics. 쑥떡같이 알아들어야 돼. It's like so you have to be careful about this distinction, okay? What they really mean about investor psychology is not really the psychology. Okay, what we mean by behavioral finance, what we mean by psychology, investor psychology, is about sentiment, 감성, like something like your heart feels, right? That is not really related to the cash flow or discount rate, indeed. Okay, something very nebulous, right? And then emotional kind of things, right? So instead of rational or some kind of expected value kind of things, no, right? So sentiment. Here is a diagram for conceptual understanding. Here's the timeline on your horizontal axis T. Let's say just 1 year or so, maybe a couple of years. And let's say there's a hypothetical company like DI Corp, the size daddy's stock. In that example, right? Gangnam Style, 2012. That company did not have material information news at all, right? No mergers and no earnings surprise or anything at all. Nothing related to cash flow or risk about the company popped up as a news, right? But only the Gangnam Style's downloading and the flash mobs and the clicks, that psychology drove the price of the company by 8 times or something, and then plunged back. Okay? Now, the intrinsic value of DI Corp, that kind of hypothetical company, let's say, because there's no news about the cash flow or discount rate, the value has to stay the same throughout the time period over here. Okay? But the true value is invisible. That's why I just draw with dashed lines over here. Okay? No change, but you can observe the price of this company over time. And let's say the price was depressed in the beginning of the period, and then at the end of the period, it jumped up like crazy. Maybe it's going to come down again. But what drives this kind of stock price and return? Okay? I said fundamental has not changed. No news arrived there. But why does it move like this? Perhaps that's because of the investor psychology called sentiment. Okay, sentiment. Not the investor economy or anything like that. Now, the thing is, this invisible, the true value is invisible, right? But the sentiment, right? If you can measure this kind of sentiment somehow and then quantify it, you can build up your trading strategy, because you know that the price of this guy will be depressed when the sentiment is low, and then the price is going to be inflated when the sentiment is very high. So what's going to be your investment strategy? If you can measure this sentiment somehow, then buy it when the sentiment is terrible, and then sell it when the sentiment is high. That's going to be your profit-making opportunity. Okay? When then among so many different companies in the world, right? What kind of companies are whose values, whose prices are subject to this kind of sentiment? Some companies like Samsung Electronics or big companies, 대형주, they are not swayed, they are not affected too much by the sentiment. Why? Because so many investors, millions of investors look at Samsung Electronics minute by minute, and microscopically they just observe it, okay? So that every information popping up gets priced immediately, okay? No room for sentiment to play over there. Where, in contrast, small stocks like DI Corp or nobody knows stock, right? Those guys have a lot of room for sentiment to play. So their valuation or the price level, okay, gets affected by the sentiment so much. Okay, young stocks, distressed companies, and then things like that. Growth stocks and things, those guys, right? Anything that is difficult to value, right? Those are, subject to sentiment. And then the subjectivity of the valuers, right, gets in there. The thing is, the sentiment concept has been so nebulous, right? How can we quantify this sentiment or the psychology? Okay. Well, the close concept is mood, right? Investor mood, 기분, right? Kind of things. The feeling, right? Psychological factors such as mood are recently found to be affecting the stock prices, stock returns, with the development of big data analysis. Well, the psychology, right? The feelings. have been very nebulous, like 구름에 담산, like it's like a cloud in the air. How can I grasp the water over there, right? But that's when you only have your hand over there. You can measure the degree of the waterness over there if you can measure the water particle, the big data approach. How many water particles over there? If your measuring machine is precise enough, like a big data machine, AI, now you can quantify those sentiment. It's no longer bullshitting. So that's why nowadays behavioral finance guys took off and then take the center stage in the finance discussion. Now with the development of big data analysis, those things are developed more and get sophisticated. And then traditional sentiment measures, we're going to learn about it. And then next we're going to talk about the big data based sentiment analysis in finance. And then perhaps I'm going to introduce one machine learning based sentiment measure with naive Bayesian classifier. So that's the roadmap of this class this week. But before that, we're going to talk about the natural mood, right? Even before going into the long run sentiment, we're going to talk about the mood, day by day mood, right? Traditional measures, yes, the mood, right? Sunlight is the basic one. The Bible says in the Genesis, they say what? Let there be light among the darkness, right? On the complete chaos, God said, let there be light, which means fiat lux by Latin, right? Fiat means like pyong, like let there be pyong, light, right? So that the light was there and he felt happy. It doesn't say he felt terrible as he saw the light. Why? Why is it delightful? Delightful because light is there in the word, right? Delightful. Well, Charles Darwin's or the evolutionarily, right? Evolution theory. We can apply those things together here. The guys or the animals that preferred light had light to darkness, right? Preferred light to darkness. These guys systematically had a better chance of survival because if you happen to like the darkness better than the light, chances are you will get eaten by the predators like tigers or anything like, right? Wolves. So you have a better chance of survival on that during the daylight time. So you're destined to have the tendency to like light, things like that. The light will boost up your mood, okay, your emotion. And then if you are aware of this movie, right, 신세계, or New World, right, at certain point, this boss of this Korean mafia, right, gets killed by his subordinates after got betrayed by his competitor or something like, not internal the political competitor, right, and then gets killed, right, by thrown out of the building construction site. And then before he gets killed, he says what? 죽기 딱 좋은 날씨다. Which means like it's cloudy day and it's just a optimal time to die. Well, why do I bring this? Well, there is a weather that is just good for the stock price to fall. That is the cloudy day, right? Good Day Sunshine is the title of the song Beatles sang like decades ago. The same titled paper by Tyler Shumway and David Schleifer, it was about this weather's effect, the effect of cloudiness on the stock price. When the Manhattan sky has a lot of more cloud, is more cloudy, then the stock index tend to go down. Okay? Well, is that the huge amount so that you can make money out of it? Not that much, but when the difference is there, or the movement is there, but not enough to justify the transaction cost. So people keep it over there. It just don't bother to make money out of it. But it is statistically significant, right? When the cloudy day, the stock index will be lower. On average, the stock price will be lower. Okay. Other things being equal, all these economic factors controlled, right? We're talking about this big data analysis. And then common things are found out throughout the world, right? Using different stock markets. And then, why is that the case? Those cloudy days, people tend to have more critical thoughts about, risk and return and all these kind of things, and trying to analyze more deeply, and then becomes much more pessimistic than before. So that's why those kind of pessimistic mood associated with the cloudiness gets priced a little bit. Okay, systematically is there. And then, that's that. And then when the weather is very sunny, people tend to tip more in the United States and things like that. Another thing I want to highlight is something called the SAD, S-A-D, Seasonal Affective Disorder. What is that about? It's about winter blues, right? In Minnesota, I don't know if some of you are from northern or Scandinavian countries, right? Minnesota is similar, Canada is similar, I guess. The winter days, it's so gloomy. Why? Because it's so cloudy and you don't see the sunshine. I told you, you feel the light when you see the light, right? You don't see the light, you feel depressed. The thing is, Minnesota, it starts to snow from the middle of October, right? It's coming near, yeah? And then it just keeps on snowing week and week. Sometimes it gets sunny, but usually it just snows a long time, like a rainy season monsoon season in Korea, right? And then it stops snowing at a certain point, but the snow keeps on being there until April. And then during the May days, right? At the end of May, University of Minnesota has a commencement ceremony on which we may have some snows again. So the snow, you can see the snow from October to May time. And you can pretty much picture those cloudiness on the sky, and then those people's feeling about, I hate to go out, and then just what can I do? And that's why Minnesota guys, econ department, got so many Nobel Prizes, right? Because they had nothing else to do but just to study inside the, research room. Okay, I'm just kidding. And then June, July, and August, September. Those 3 to 4 months, you see extremely beautiful nature, green grass and green trees all around, and then the beautiful lakes in Minnesota. Extremely beautiful, so that it is extreme enough so that you can keep the great memories and then survive those long winters. So I have to shut my mouth up, and then what does it have to do with the stock price over here? And the thing is, as you experience prolonged darkness, right? During the winter time, your emotion gets priced, and then the stock index tends to go down for Scandinavian countries during that time period. And then as you go through the longest day of the, how do you say, what is that? Solstice, or we call it 동짓날, right? The day with the longest night hours, right? December 22nd. After that, you expect to see longer and longer daylights. So your expectation gets priced so that the price increases, which coincides with January effect. Yeah, seasonal disorder, right, is there. And this kind of event, the effect is also present in Southern Hemisphere during the June and July time. That's there. And then this kind of thing is not visible, not caught up in Singapore or tropical rainforest countries, because there's not much of variation of daylights throughout the year. Okay, it's just constant over there. You don't feel the days or the years are passing by. Okay, every day summer, absolutely. Yeah. Now, winter day blues. Yeah, here's how they estimate those kind of things, and then find out the results, right? And then you see SAD effect being significant for New Zealand and Japan and the South Africa kind of, right, countries. And talking about weather effect, in the next video, I'm going to talk about the effect of air pollution. Okay, so wait for me.